everyone, it's Fantasia. So today we're going to talk about the new pack coming out, Enchanted by Nature. So I've been reading your guys' comments. I did tell you guys I want to do some discussion videos, and today we have some things to talk about a lot of simmers being actually very concerned with this pack. Initially, I was seeing a lot of comments concerned that we weren't going to be able to be a fairy, which I think now that's kind of settled down because of the first image that we got, which I'll pop up on the screen here, and you can see fairies all around in the middle, and I do feel like that kind of confirms that we're going to be able to be a fairy, because otherwise I feel like they would only be tiny little mini fairies flying around if it was kind of like a cottage living bunnies situation, but they're full-size Sims. You know, I can't see us not being able to be a fairy ourselves. So I don't think we need to worry about that anymore, but I was seeing a lot of concern about that. But even since this image has come out, there is still a lot of concerns. Now there's concerns about the world. So I just quickly wanted to let you guys know that if you plan on purchasing The Sims 4 Businesses and Hobbies or any of the Sims packs, you can use my code Fantasia on the EA app or thesims.com. This does directly support me and my channel, so I do really appreciate those of you guys who use my code. So let's talk about some comments that I went ahead and pulled up here. So this first one, it comes from Louise, and it says here, all the worlds are starting to look the same to me. So I do want to talk about this. I feel like this is really important. I have seen lots of people speak on this. I did go over this image, and I was talking about how this middle portion is my favorite. I love a lot of things about this image, to be honest. However, I can absolutely see what people are saying. I do want to note that I am someone who gets very excited for new releases. I've always been that way, literally since The Sims 2 days. I get very hyped for new things, and you know, sometimes my opinion can change when I play the pack. You guys have kind of seen that happen if you keep up with my videos. Realm of Magic, I was so excited because the trailer looked amazing. The world is gorgeous. The pictures looked so good. And then when I played the pack, I was not a fan of Realm of Magic, honestly. With werewolves, I was a fan, but I'm not an occult player, so I don't really touch that pack anymore. But I think the werewolves are amazingly done. I love that world and everything like that. So with this one, it's kind of like, I don't know what's gonna happen, because obviously I think this looks really amazing, but I can see what you guys are saying with the world looking like a lot of different other worlds that we have. So before I talk about it further though, I do want to go over some other comments. So Marty Party says, this looks so bad, a weird mix of cottage living and Realm of Magic. I think this will be the worst pack yet, super disappointed. So when it comes to the world and also other things about this pack, it does remind me of cottage living in some ways. There's also some eco lifestyle in there, and also this side of the world to me does look a lot like Henford on Bagley. I think it's gorgeous, but I do think they are starting to make some worlds that are similar to one another. People have been noticing this for a while. To me, the part that's going to be the most different, you know, is this Enchanted Forest part. However, some people think this looks like the Realm of Magic world, which I can see that. However, I do still think this portion is a lot different. That's just my opinion. I'm gonna have to wait till I see the world in full, of course. And then over here, this looks like a mix of different things. Like this is giving Tartosa, San Sequoia. I love the colorful buildings, but a lot of people are not a fan of this giant gnome. Speaking of gnomes, I have seen some people commenting about that this is not a fairies pack, this is a gnomes pack. And I do think that can be kind of concerning, I'm not gonna lie, because a lot of people are not for the whole expanding on the gnomes system, and I personally do not like gnomes. They drive me crazy. So the decorative ones, cool, I'll put them around like my garden and stuff, but with the holidays when the gnomes spawn, absolutely not. I'm not a fan of that. So I guess we'll have to see. I don't want to speak too soon because, you know, we'll feel it out. Maybe there is going to be a lot of focus on the fairies. I don't know. So this next comment comes from Missy. I'm not a big fan of the main world and that tacky giant gnome statue, but I did notice in the third pic, a sim is interacting with a fairy that seems to be quite small. My guess is that the magical world will be a tiny world filled with fairies, but in the main world, they'll appear small and have limitations to what you can do with them, like Social Bunny. For the full gameplay, you'll probably have to enter their fairy world. So I actually like this view on things because I feel like that could be correct. If we zoom in here, I think this is what the comment is talking about here. It does look like a sim is interacting with a tiny fairy. Obviously, it's hard to see what's really happening here, but that's what it seems like. And then over here in the middle, the fairies are like normal sim size. I do wonder if maybe in this world, just like the normal portions of the world, if the fairies will be tiny. Also here, I don't know what's happening. I don't know if that's also like another tiny fairy around. I don't know. Also, why does it, am I crazy? Why does it look like a fairy is sitting on its nose? I don't know. Honestly, it goes really blurry, so who knows if that's what's happening there. But yeah, it does seem like the fairies are tiny in these portions of the world, and then they're full-size sims here. So I'm really curious. This next comment comes from Laura. I'm so disappointed if I'm being honest. We just had life and death. We should have gotten travel/vacations/cars. And this should have been a game pack like vampires and werewolves. Like we voted. So where's what we actively voted for? So I can totally see this too, because yes, we've been asking for fairies. However, we did not, at least most of us did not ask for a pack like this. Whereas everyone's been asking for like a bands pack, a hotels pack. And so that's what I assumed was coming. I really thought we were going to get a hotels/resorts type of pack this summer and then bands later in the year, which I do still think we're getting bands in November. But yeah, this seems to be very unexpected for a lot of people, you know. I have said previously, the way this pack feels is very me, like the other side of the gameplay I like. So, you know, I love family gameplay, realism, all that. But then if we're gonna have some magical type of gameplay and like nature and all that, this is the type of content I like to see for that. So, you know, I am excited for this pack. But would I have been more excited for a hotels and resorts pack? Absolutely. Just because I would get more use out of that. I mean, I could be entirely wrong. I need to wait till I actually play with this. Maybe it's going to be one of my top favorite packs. But just, you know, from what we've seen, I mean, my top favorite packs are always things like the family stuff, like seasons, growing together, parenthood, and then things that, you know, I can have my families go and do together, like any sort of vacation type of thing, things of that sort. I guess a lot of people did vote for fairies though, like, so I feel like they are giving us what we want, but they took a different turn on it, which oftentimes The Sims does that, and it's either a hit or miss. So people are either going to love this once they get their hands on it, or they're going to be like, why did they go in this route? Why didn't we just get a fairies game pack? Okay, so I want to actually pull up this next comment that comes from Matthew. It says here, why are you so excited? Like, this isn't all reused content. We have all this in some form. So I wanted to pull this up, even though it's kind of like a bash at me being so excited, because that's valid. Honestly, as mentioned, I get excited for new content coming to The Sims 4 pretty much no matter what, as long as it looks somewhat appealing to me. I will say, with the exception, I do not always get excited for things like kits. And there has been some stuff packs or like game packs where I've been like iffy, like right away, you know, but when it comes to expansion packs, that is what I always get most excited for, even if I have concerns, just because expansion packs do offer the most. We get a new world, we get tons of different features to explore, so it's just an exciting time. And seeing new images and all that, it gets me hyped. However, I'm definitely not going to turn a blind eye to the things that are reused content when I'm reviewing this pack. That's something I always do, like, you know, when there's announcements and stuff like that. I am very excited, and, you know, I'll be vocal if I notice something I don't like or something like that. But I like to kind of wait until I actually have more information and play the pack myself to kind of really feel it out, you know, feel out the things that feel like reused content. If the expansion pack feels full or not, you know what I mean? Even, for example, with the Horse Ranch expansion pack, my hype died down a lot once I played the pack. And still to this day, I'm not that happy with Horse Ranch. It's one of my least favorite packs, even though I think they did an amazing job with the horses themselves. I don't like the route they took with that pack. And to me, it just felt very empty, and I don't know. I just am not a fan of that pack. I could live without it. But that's the thing with the way The Sims 4 kind of like promotes things with the photos and the trailers. It's meant to get you excited. So yes, I'm excited when I see these new things, and it looks really good in theory, but will it be good? I don't know. And will it feel like reused content? Definitely some things will feel like reused content. I can definitely see that, because of course they're expanding on some things that we already have, but we really have to see till we learn more. So let's see when the reveal trailer comes out and the gameplay trailer. I think that's really going to help everyone kind of get a feel if this is going to be bland or not. So this next comment comes from Salty Llama. I don't understand why this is justified as an expansion pack, because all the other ones were in game packs. I really hope they revamped Plant Sims 2. So they did actually do this with mermaids with Island Living. I know a lot of people forget about that because mermaids are so easy to forget about because they're so lackluster. So yeah, with Enchanted by Nature, they went in the same route as Island Living. Let's just hope that fairies actually have more details the way that werewolves do, because I do feel like fairies deserve that for sure, but I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. If they revamped Plant Sims as well, I do think that would make a lot of people happy. I think that would help some people justify it more as an expansion pack. At least for those of you who feel like this should not be an expansion pack. I'm waiting until I get my hands on this to really have an opinion on that, or at least until we see more so I can really kind of figure out if this seems like they just kind of tried to throw all these things into a pack with fairies so they could put the expansion pack price tag on it, or if it really feels like a thought out expansion pack. But that is the last comment I have. There was some more, but of course they were similar, so I did try to grab comments that were different from one another, but I want to know your guys' thoughts down below. I hope we see some more teases soon because, you know, I thought them just releasing those little teases on that website with the images was really, really cool, but we definitely need to know more. But you guys, with that, I hope you're all having an amazing day, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys!
You're the rose in a garden, and it shows if I'm